What's going on, YouTube? We're here in Stu's garage. We have the brand new 2017 Maxima. This thing's fresh off the lot. It's got like 10 miles on it. 11 miles on it. Today we're going to be putting air suspension on this car. It's not going to be a super detailed video. We are going to give you a little tidbit. But basically we have to make a few modifications. We're going to put this air suspension on here. We're going to slam it to the ground. And then as a bonus, there's a Y pipe on the ground. Ooh. I'm gonna give this thing a nice little sound. Ooh. So check it out. We've already got the was that Stillin diffusers on there. It's gonna have a nice little sound when it rolls out of here. I've never done an air suspension before, but I've done so many coilovers I can't even remember. It should be about the same thing. So let's go ahead and get started and see what happens.
All right. So instead of dealing with the springs, we have decided, because it's my car, that we're not going to bother, because on these cars it's a pain to get these springs out. So goodbye springs. Here we got Stu. Safety first. What the hell did I tell you, Stuart?
Almost died.
What the hell did I tell this man?
Safety first. All right, so just a quick little public service announcement there. You never want to cut a spring that's fully loaded. On the car, as you can see, we released the rear strut, which allowed the rear control arm to drop down fully. We took a little shortcut and we cut the spring because there was actually a lot more disassembly needed in order for us to get that clearance in order to actually pull that spring out. So we took a little shortcut. Most cars that you work on, once you pull that strut out, you're going to actually have enough room to actually push down the control arm and pull the spring out by hand. If you go cutting a spring that's fully loaded, it's not going to fly out and hit you and break your arm or anything, but it could damage your tool. It could catch your hand pretty bad, smash your fingers, cut you. You don't really know. So never go cutting a spring that's fully loaded. Even when we cut the spring just now, it had a slight load on it. It wasn't really anything major. It popped. It scared me a little bit, but nothing bad actually happened. So whatever you do, don't ever go cutting a spring that's loaded and has weight on it. So since this is a previously used kit, some of the parts were actually damaged, so we have to repair some things. So what I did here is I'm actually creating a new stud to go into this mounting plate, and you'll see how that goes in there in a second. And basically all I did is match the screw and thread sizes. I took one of these, I chopped the head of it off, and I'm about to weld it into this plate. Alright, so here's the finished piece, welded and grinded. It went in pretty good. Now we're just going to throw some spray paint on it, and then we're going to mount it up inside the car. Alright, again, so since this kit was incomplete, we're having to make some extra parts. So we're making some plates right here that are going to go underneath the bags, and they're actually going to help the airbags mount to the lower control arms. And once these are done, you'll see how these actually go in there. If you were to get yourself a complete kit, it would come with specific washers that will help it. Just not for this car, because they don't actually make a kit for this car. So this is the type of stuff you're going to have to do when you use the wrong parts on the right car. Alright, last preparations before we actually put the bags in. Alright, as you can see, there's a lip going around the edge of this thing. So apparently the airbag kits that folks are using on these Generation Maximas is rubbing on this lip here. So the workaround for that is to actually trim this lip back about halfway around. That allows the bag to have clearance. You don't get that friction, and then your bag doesn't wear out over time. So we're going to go ahead and chop that out. As you can see here, we've got this all cleaned up, shaved, and we put silicone on there just to help keep it from making friction with the bag. All right, so the next thing we're gonna do is we're gonna put this this top mount in here. This is for the top of the airbag, and that goes at the top of the spring perch. So this plate mounts to the top, the bag mounts to it, and then it mounts to the lower control arm.
We're both doing the same thing.
All right, so now we've got the bracket bolted in,
My phone just died.
and this airbag is gonna mount up right to those studs, like so. All right, as you can see, we've got the bag now mounted up to the top of the spring perch, and what we're doing here is we're raising up the control arm. We're going to put our makeshift retaining washer down here to the bottom. It's going to mount right underneath here. As you can see, we made it a perfect fit. Beautiful craftsmanship right here, folks.
You're better than that, right? Custom all the way.
And it's going to mount to that bolt right there. And that's going to actually hold everything in place.
At the bottom. Almost teabagged your feet.
All right, so as you can see, as we raise up the control arm, we're going to have room to install the strut here. So that's the lower bolt for the strut.
A little bit more. We're good.
We already bolted the top of the strut. That's two bolts right there from the bottom. You don't have to go inside the trunk. And as you can see here on the bottom, we've got this lined up, and we're going to bolt this washer right down to the bottom, and that it's going to hold everything in place. Yep, as you can see here,
It's.
the makeshift bracket is in there. Everything's tightened down.
Hold on.
The airbag is solid in place. There's your outlet right there, which will be running the airlines in just a little bit. And
All right.
we'll see how that works. All right, so here's a little test fit right here. And this simulates the car actually being aired all the way out. And as you can see how close we have it here, and why it's necessary to actually trim that outer lip off. And we're clear. That's definitely not going to touch. There's not going to be any friction or rubbing. I know it looks really ugly with the silicone, folks, but it is what it is. It's functional. And once that stuff dries, it's not going to look so nasty. Alright, so now we've got both bags mounted. Everything's done as far as the rear is concerned with the hardware. So the next thing we're going to do is actually run these lines to the inside. So you've actually got a really nice grommet right here inside your trunk. That's close enough to the driver's side wheel. And we're just going to create two identical holes on this side that's going to let you run the airlines from the front down the side and from the rear to the inside. And we're just going to make these two holes, and it's going to be just big enough to run those airlines through. This is the airline right here. All right, so what we got here is the master air box. I don't know what you call it.
Manifold.
Air manifold, okay. And we're actually running the airlines right now, so.
Give me the long one.
Yeah. So to get these lines in, you just simply push it in.
Where's the other short?
We're going to go through these holes that we have. We're going to run the rear lines to the rear and the front lines to the front.
That's weird.
And that's going to connect right here, but I think we need to trim it or something because it's extra long. All right, it's very important to make sure that your airlines are clear of any moving parts. Make sure you're not running it directly over top of your control arm. I actually went all the way over top of the rear subframe for this one, down next to the gas tank, so you can see the airline there, next to the brake line. Once you've got it in place, it should actually stay pretty good, but it's always good to apply some nice racing ties and just to keep your stuff in place. All right, so we're moving along quickly here. We've already got the front struts out. As you can see, it's only 3 screws at the top. There's 2 screws on the front spindle, and then 1 screw here on your sway bar end link, and then that'll actually drop out. So here you can see the new air strut that we're putting in, and there's the old strut. So basically what we have here, we didn't go into a whole lot of detail with the front struts. I pointed out to you what you need to do to take them down. Literally, it could take you about 5 minutes to change out both of these if you're working by yourself. So what we're doing right now is actually opening up a space to run the front air lines. They actually come through, there's a pocket inside the side skirt, and you can actually run them straight up through the side skirt, up through the fender well, back behind, and there's your inlet for your front air line. And that's about it. So the next clip you see, we'll be letting this car down, and we'll be testing out the air. Alright, so the install's finished. There's still some calibration that needs to happen, and some adjusting. Some severe tuckage right there. That's how it looks on the ground. All right, folks, as you can see, the Maxima's out of here. It wasn't an incredibly detailed video, but it does give you the gist of it. If you're thinking about installing air suspension yourself, you can actually see it's not very much different from installing a set of coilovers. What we didn't cover in this video was the electronics portion of it. We didn't cover installation of the air management piece. That's not incredibly involved. You don't have to actually run any wires outside of the car. You just have to run the wires for your compressors and your manifold and the actual air management computer. Again, that's simple. If you're thinking about undertaking a coilover or suspension install, running those wires is not really going to be a challenge for you, so it wasn't really super necessary to have in this video, just to give you a good view of it. We ran out of time. We got tired of working on it. We didn't put the Y pipe on, so you'll be seeing that in a later video. And definitely check out the exhaust clips we're going to do. Right now he's running a muffler delete because we didn't feel like putting the mufflers back on just yet. So we're going to show you what the car sounds like without mufflers, with mufflers, and then also with the Y pipe. So stay tuned, check back. See you guys later.